Camtastic review. Let's go. Alright. Bismillah walhamdulillah. So in this part of the review, we're going to hop right into nouns and we're going to look at the 4 properties about nouns. But before we do that, I want to take a step back actually and look at the 2 types of sentences. So in Arabic and English, there are 2 types of sentences. The first is a nominal sentence and the second is a verbal sentence. So a nominal sentence begins with a noun, right? So the car. Car would be the noun, and it's also the subject, right? So in a nominal sentence, there's 2 parts. There's the subject, what you're talking about, and then the predicate, the news or the information about that subject. So the car, well, what about the car? Is new. So this would be the subject, and then this would be the predicate. In Arabic, the subject is known as mubtada, and in Arabic, the predicate is known as khabar. So my friend Camilla would be the subject. I'm speaking about my friend Camilla. And then if I said is cool, that would be the predicate, right? And one thing to keep in mind is that in Arabic, there is no word for is. You just have to look at the construction between the words, you know, the different case endings and how they're interacting to see if you have to insert an is. And when we go more in depth into sentences, we'll see how to do that. But really, it's just kind of reading it and knowing the construction, but you'll see more of it. So for a verbal sentence begins with a verb and it's made up of 3 components. The first is the fi'l, which is the action. The second is the doer, which is the fa'il. And then the third is the object receiving the action or detail about the verb, and it's known as maf'ul. So let's take a look at this sentence where it says Uzair closed the door. So the verb would be closed. So in Arabic, that would come first. And then after that, you would usually see the doer, but sometimes the object can come before that, right? So it'd be Uzair would be the doer, and then the object that's receiving the closing, receiving the action, is the door. So that would be our maf'ul. Okay, so let's hop right into the supernouns properties. Every noun in Arabic has 4 properties. There is the state, which is known as i'rab. There's the definiteness, which is known as qism. Then the gender, which is known as jins. And then finally number, which is known as adad. By looking at these 4 things, we can determine a lot about a noun. It will tell us about how it's interacting with others and also what their purpose is in the sentence. We'll learn a little bit more about that as we go forward. So first off, let's start with definiteness. Nouns can be either definite, ma'rifa, or indefinite, nakira. Definite means that you're speaking about a specific thing. So if I said, grab the game from the store, that means that you're talking about a specific game. You know which one I'm speaking about, the game, right? It's a specific thing. As opposed to if I said, grab a game from the store. That's not specific. It could be any game that I want you to grab. It's up to you. So usually in English, something is made definite by adding the article the. It specifies it, zooms in on something specific. And something is kept indefinite by using the article a. Moving forward, in Arabic, one of the ways of making a word definite is by adding the lam with a sukun. This l here, right? And words are made indefinite by using a double ending, tanween. Right? A double ending on a word is known as tanween. This literally means to nunify. I don't know if this is explained below. Oh, it's not. Okay. So we'll go into this a little bit more. So it literally means to nunify. Within every single one of these tanweens is a noon with a sukun. So if you were to kind of expand it, like double click and expand it, this would be nalifatan with a ta, with a fatha on it, connecting with a noon with a sukun. But they just double it up as a way of just writing it to save space. Right? That's just something to keep in mind. It actually comes in handy when it comes to tajweed. But anyway, this l sound here, lam with a sukun is what's giving its definiteness, not the alif. The alif is actually known as a hamzatul wasl, which is a relief hamza. It's added in there so you can actually pronounce it. So it's al-kitabu, right? It makes it pronounceable. So as-sariri, let's see if I could change that real quick. Yeah, as-sariri, which means the bed, and nadhifun, gotta change these. an-nadhifa, an-nadhifata, which means the window, and al-kitabu, which means the book. It's that l in there that's making it definite. And then finally, here we have in, an, and un, which means we're going to be dealing with indefinite. So a bed, a window, a book. One thing to keep in mind is that a tanween and an alif lam will never come together. Ever. That's not possible. That's like World War III. The world is imploding. You're never going to see that. Not happening. So just keep that in mind. Also, in the Taqwa program, we kind of have like this in-house terminology that when a word has a double ending, when it has a tanween, we call it heavy, right? And when a word has a single ending, we call it light. Just sometimes you'll see Ustad referring to it as that. Just try and keep that in mind. So, in terms of indefiniteness, we said that a double ending usually represents a word that's indefinite. But there are some exceptions to this, such as the word akharu and the word awwalu. But these words can really only be learned through experience. You know, there's quite a few of them, but they don't come up that often, from what I've heard. So when you come across them, just try and remember them. So when it comes to definiteness, there are 6 ways to make a word definite. First, you can add that l, that lam with a sukoon, which makes a word definite, and the hamzatul wasl, as we spoke about before, which is the relief hamza. Yeah, that's added in order to make it pronounceable. So here we have l-kaslanu. We add that hamzatul wasl right here, and it makes it al-kaslanu, making it definite and pronounceable. Second is proper names, which is a name used for an individual, person, place, or organization, right? So it's referring to someone specific. You know, that's their identity. So we have here Uzair, Alim, and Nina. All of those are proper nouns because they're referring to a person. Could be a place, such as the name of a mall, and so forth. So note, masculine names generally carry double endings, even though definite. So we learned that tanween is usually a sign of indefiniteness, but generally, when it comes to masculine names that are pure Arab names, they carry a double tanween. That's why Alimun has it here. But if you look at Uzairu, since that's not a pure Arab name, it's just carrying one. Uzair is actually a Hebrew name, right? Hebrew prophet. And when it comes to female names, they also don't carry 2. They just carry 1. Third is the one being called, and this is known as munada. So they're called by what is called a harfu nidah. It's this ya right here. There's about 6 of them, I believe, but this is the most common one. And this ya literally means like oh. So this would mean oh boy. Like you're trying to get their attention. Nobody speaks like that, so if you translate it, generally it would just be like boy, right? Or son. Just trying to get their attention. And this word here, since we know what it is, it's automatically definite. We know who we're referring to, right? We're speaking to a specific boy whose attention we're trying to get. And alif lam is not required to make it definite because that ya is doing it. And of course it does not have tanween because it's not indefinite. Fourth is a concept known as pointing words, which are known as demonstrative pronouns in English. It's another word for it. And in Arabic it's known as ismu ishara, right? And these are words such as hadha and dhalika. Hadha meaning this, dhalika meaning that. Hadha is pointing to something that's close, so hadha kitabun. This is a book, and that book is close to me. While dhalika kitabun means that book, and it's referring to a book that's far away from me. The classic example is dhalika najumun. You know, that star. A star is something that's far away, and you're pointing to it. And of course it's definite because it's pointing, right? It's indicating something. So number 5 is connecting words, or connector words, and essentially these words act as a means of connecting you to a concept. Usually, when you're translating them from Arabic into English, they're words such as who or which. So an example would be the one who eats, and in Arabic it would be alladhi. This who would be alladhi, right? It's connecting a person to the concept of eating, right? Alladhi. Then another would be those who, alladhina, believer. It's changed here because now it's referring to multiple people, and it's connecting those multiple people to belief, right? Those who believe. Let me get rid of that R. Those who believe. Number 6 is associations, which are known as idafa. And essentially an association is where you have one word that's associated, and it's being you have one word that's being associated to another word, right? So the word that is associated is going to be definite. And usually in English this looks like pen of the student. This is the associated word that's being associated to the student. Okay, that's really confusing when you keep on saying associate, eh? It could also be translated as the student's pen, right? That's another way of looking at it in English. So here we have a few examples. We have قلم الطالب, قلم الطالب, which means the pen of the student. What you want to look out for, a way of recognizing this, is that the word that's associated will not have alif lam, nor will it have tanween, right? So that's how we know it's being associated to the word that comes after it, right? There's some type of connection between the two. And then the second word that comes after it will have a kasra, or be in a state of jar, right? So قلم الطالب, the pen of the student. This over here is مكتب المعلم. So once again, we see no alif lam and no tanween. That means that it's being associated to the word after it. And then this word takes a kasra, being in a state of jar, right? So مكتب المعلم. This means the desk of the teacher, right? And we'll get into more of what all this jar and rafa and nasb means further down below. One thing to keep in mind too when it comes to this association is that no words can get in between these two. They are now married together and joined at the hip. No separation whatsoever. Okay. Alright, in the next video we'll cover status.